Hello and welcome back, everyone, to our first exam prep office hour session for Google Cloud Launchpad for Women Edition 3. As you know, I'm Kate Rivera, Global Head of Cloud Learning Offers at Google Cloud based in Chicago, and I am so glad you're here. The message today is about persevering and practicing. Whether you are a marketing analyst, a software engineer, a financial analyst, developer, or a CEO or project manager, you can all do this. Remember, this is about every woman at every level in every part of the business, and each of our Google Cloud customers interested in taking that next step in learning more about cloud and specifically obtaining the foundational cloud certification in Google Cloud called the Cloud Digital Leader Cert. So my hope for you is to follow through and earn that certification, that market recognized credential, and empower yourself, educate yourself, and upskill yourself to have a seat at that table, to help drive that cloud migration, to lead that digital transformation project and help reshape your organization's future. So a few tips from me: review your notes, review that CDL study guide. It was emailed to you in the links that we sent, and take the sample exam questions. I believe there's something like 32 of them, and you can take them as many times as you want. They're incredibly helpful. You get immediate results with feedback so you know where to go back and study. And join that optional private LinkedIn group. It really is an opportunity for you to share. You each share tips and tricks, success stories, encourage each other, and Charlene is planting little quizzes and things like that in that LinkedIn group. So let's just talk about the certification exam for a minute before Charlene takes us deeper. It consists of 50 to 60 multiple choice questions, and you're given 90 minutes, so an hour and a half to finish the exam. And although the passing score is not officially published, it is not 100%. So you can get a few wrong and still pass the exam. Let me tell you quick what I did. I carved out about 2 hours on Saturday, about 2 hours on Sunday morning, and about an hour Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for basically a week. And then I was ready. All right, and don't forget to aim to take and pass that certification exam by Monday, November 4th. Write that down, Monday, November 4th, as the first 500 of you to do so will earn a $50 swag voucher to the Google store, and you can get your own hoodie or whatever fun thing you'd like. All right, by now, you know I love a good quote. So I will leave you with this one. Another quote from when I heard Simone Biles, the most decorated US Olympic gymnast, speak. When she was asked what she would tell her 20-year-old self, she said, "Don't be so afraid of being great." Not don't be so afraid of failing or messing up, but rather, don't be so afraid of being great. So I challenge you to do the same thing. Okay, let's look at one last thing before I turn it over to Charlene. So on this slide, you'll see on the left side, don't forget to leverage all those great course materials. You can grab it off this QR code. We also sent it to you via email last week. And second, we'd really encourage you to join that optional LinkedIn group. It's a private group. Again, sharing tips, tricks, reviewing quizzes, things like that. There are already 4,480 women in this group from the first, second, and third editions, and everyone is very supportive. So now I'm so happy to welcome back the fabulous Charlene Banks, our fantastic, high-energy, engaging trainer from ROI Training. So Charlene, please take it away.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much. What a great reminder of Simone Biles' words. She said, she didn't say don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to be great. And so I know that everybody here is also unafraid to make an impact and to be awesome. And I just heard a little birdie report that there are already many of you that have already passed the exam. Several of you have already signed up for the exam. Well, you're way ahead of me because today I'm going to show you how to find and register for the exam, including how to take the practice questions. So let's jump right in to this other slide deck that I've got prepared for you. Ah, what a great week, huh? Were you just dreaming about cloud stuff over the last week? It's okay to dream about it because that's how your brain puts it in long-term memory. This is how we really learn. When we go to sleep and we dream about what we learned, that's how you know it's really getting in there. So don't feel shy about that. All right. The course materials, we've already done that one. I can start with some test taking tips, but what I really want to start with is showing you exactly where to find the registration section. In fact, I'm going to have you walk with me through the process of registration. So the first thing you do, go to a blank browser screen and start typing Google Cloud Digital Leader. That's what already came up. I'm going to press enter. The first option is probably the one that's correct, unless you made a big old typo. Go ahead and click Cloud Digital Leader, the Google Cloud link, and look what we see. Everybody in the chat who has the question, how can we take the practice exam? Well, there's a little link to the right-hand side of this landing page that says, do you want to review the sample questions? And if you click that, you will be taken to the practice questions. I'm not going to take us through those practice questions. No. I am going to help us register, and I want you to register with me right now. Do you have your voucher code? Check your email, check your spam. Let's go register for the exam together right now. And then the rest of this time will be test taking tips, what to look for. If you see this, they want you to say that. And that's all of my I've got a little tricks up my sleeve and I want to share them with you. So let's click register. You will immediately be taken to, well, I'm already logged in. If I log out, you'll see. You'll be immediately taken to the certmetrics.com website, newly refreshed website that will end up taking us to Web Assessor. That's where we'll go to actually register for the exam. But baby steps. You come to this screen, and if you don't already have an account with Certmetrics, you go ahead and create new candidate registration. I've already taken one. But it's a normal form where you fill out your name, your information, tell it that you're not a robot, pick a password, you get the idea, and then you'll have an account. Come on back in and log into the account. So next, now that you're logged in, what I want you to do, and I know some of you are still you're going to be making your account, and I hadn't really considered waiting for people to complete, but just watch as I do this, and then it'll be fresh in your brain if you want to create your account very shortly. What you want to do is schedule your exam. Don't worry about all of this stuff. It's great. It's cute. It's a beautiful site. Let's just click the one, schedule or launch an exam, which now takes us to the Web Assessor. That's the Web Assessor. Those are the people that actually administer the exam. And here we are in the registration section of the Web Assessor. So with your voucher code in hand, go ahead and click the Google Cloud Certification Exams in English. And what you'll see is the Google Cloud Certified Cloud Digital Leader in English. This is the one I would take if I speak English. I do, so I'm clicking that. I'm going to click the little expand button, and now you have to ask yourself a question. Should I go to the center to take the exam? Should I show up in a building, sit down at an already, set aside space and sit down and take the exam? Or should I take it from home, remotely? And you could say, or can I take it from the office? Try not to take this exam from the office, because here's the deal. The remote process of taking the exam, clearing the room, making sure there's nobody else in the room, It's a lot. But if you have that kind of, maybe there is a little office that you could take, a little conference room that you can set aside. Sure, it's your world. You decide which one of those you want to do. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I want an on-site exam only because I want to show you the options. So I click the register button, and now it knows I'm registering for the Google Cloud Digital Leader exam, and I want to show up in person. So the first thing it asks me is, so what state are you in? And I go, well, I'm in Northern Virginia. And it goes, yeah, so we've got one center. And there's actually, there are some centers I could just look to see if there's anything near me, or I could go further and type in my zip code and ask it to give me a 10-mile range. If you don't see something close enough to you, like for me, these locations, yikes, like let's say I'm near Herndon. Oh, okay, sure. I could do that one, and then I can click register. I have to choose a date from the box on the left. What date is good? Now, I think everybody's going to shoot for November. I think I heard somebody, I think there's a deadline. Okay, listen, you'll have some dates to be suggested to, but try not to make it more than a couple weeks out, because you want to have just enough of a buffer that you can study without freaking out about it. Don't make it so far out that you forgot or that you'll procrastinate. There's a fine line, right? So pick one. If I say I want to come in on Saturday, okay, November 2nd, a Saturday, what time you want to come in? 11:15. Sounds good to me. Your mileage may vary. I can click schedule, and then it says a couple things about the retake policy, payment. You're going to pay nothing. I love that part. Read the fine print. I'm pretty sure it's pretty standard, but read it. Okay, sure. Not terrified at all. We're good. Acknowledge that you read it. Click proceed. Now it's time to pay or not. And so here I'm proceeding to payment. And I could do a credit card. But no. We know people. We've got VIP access. So I'm going to take my voucher code that I got in my mail. I don't know about you. Check your mail and paste. And I'll go ahead and apply this. Woot, $0. Okay, sorry. I get excited about free things. Next, I just click submit order, and I am scheduled. Yay, there's confetti and everything. So to recap, if you want to know, wait, how do I even register? Remember, you don't even have to have a URL memorized. Just Google, literally Google, the verb, Google Cloud Digital Leader. It'll take you to this page, big old register button. That's how you register. And when you want to practice that exam, the sample questions, it takes you to a form where the questions can be answered by you. But just hold on. Don't take the sample questions yet. I have to teach you some tips and tricks for answering exam questions. And remember, you don't have to get a perfect score. That would be just mean. No, and we don't know the passing percentage. But yeah, just get most of them right and you'll be fine. Okay, how do you get most of them right? And now comes our presentation of test taking tips. TM. All right, and I'm sure that if you have questions in the chat, my friends will be helping you answer those questions. 1 second. Am I in? Oh, I'm in Chrome. All right, I need to take this same thing and get it in Edge. Only because I have a plugin that I normally use, so stand by 1 moment, please. Opening up my Edge browser. Get me a new one, bring it on over, and here we go. I have a pencil. You know me. I like to write on my slides. So there we are. That's what I'm talking about. So we were talking about test taking tips. And let me go full screen because that's annoying with all that banding. Now, here's the thing. We're taking an exam and it's going to be testing our knowledge in the Google Cloud subject areas. There are 6 subject areas because there are 6 modules. And in your course materials link, you will find access to the full-blown every slide in the slide deck for the entire CDL course that you can review. But I just want to, at a high level, point out a couple things. One of the topics that will be presented in the exam are things like scalability. Well, they'll ask you, they'll say something like a customer wants to do XYZ and scalable. Then you're going to look for solutions that you've learned that can grow as the demand increases. But if they say availability in the question, then you want to look at all the services that ensure uptime, like multiple zones for your resources or multiple regions for your resources. That increases the availability. What you don't pick is the single zone, single point of failure kind of solution, because that's just begging to be the wrong question. I mean, sometimes it says, which of these is not an available blah, blah, blah. That's when you pick single zone. You don't want a single point of failure. So think about that. Now, sometimes they'll ask a very good question with a lot of words, but then they say, and money is an issue. They want to save money. Now you've got to know which solutions are the most expensive, because that's going to be the one you don't choose. And I'll review. Again, we're going to go through some of the sample questions and I'll be pointing some of this stuff out. Security. Now, sometimes, of course, security is a big picture item inside our CDL content. So security is a topic that might come up on your exam. What you want to do is identify any option that enhances the data protection and or the compliance. So if you see anything like encryption at rest, encryption in transit, if you look at encryption keys, that kind of thing is the way you address security. And so you look for something like that in the answer. Now, sometimes there will be 2 answers. You eliminate the ones that are obviously not the right choice. Typically, when you have possibilities, right, you're thinking, yikes. There's 4 possible answers to this very thick, chunky question, because the questions are kind of a whole paragraph, if I'm quite honest. Now you're going to be weeding out, just by looking at a few words, weed out the obvious ones that are not right. And then normally you're just choosing between 2 similar options, and now you're going to compare. How are they different? And then try to look back at the question and see if it gives anything away. It's actually quite predictable and logical, but sometimes we sit down and we have exam taking anxiety, which makes the logic part go out the door. I've got a solution for that too, so hang out. All right, other thing, performance. We moved to the cloud because of performance issues. So you're looking for solutions that optimize speed and response time. Remember the difference between latency and bandwidth and response time and stuff, remembering that. And finally, integration. Looking for services that are not going to paint you in a corner. Point being, Google wants to check if you're going to click things, you're going to choose an answer that is custom or bespoke, meaning the opposite of open source. You don't want to pick that. Google Cloud would never have you pick an option. Like if they say, oh, it's time to put your database into the cloud, which option should you do? And then one of them is create your own database engine that does all the stuff in a perfect customized way and run that in the cloud. That's not the right answer, because now you have that leads to vendor lock-in. And that's not their best practice. Google would never, okay? And sometimes I've seen questions that were like, your company needs to anticipate Black Friday. What should they do? 1, buy more computers for the data center and invest more on-prem. That's not the answer. That's never the answer. Unless they said which is not the approach you should take. Sometimes you got to watch for the Boolean flip. And don't pick that. Never would you sit for a Google exam and choose an answer that says, don't go to the cloud, stay local. That's never the answer. So these are kind of fun to joke about, but it helps eliminate full choices that otherwise would have been a little bit attractive. Remember that part. Another thing, moving on, keywords. Now let's go into products. A lot of times Google will ask you, this is what we want to do. Which products should we use? If you hear automated, and then, of course, automated means I don't have to do anything manually, then you're looking for some managed solutions that Google Cloud offers, like AutoML, Auto Machine. Remember AutoML and the AI platform that Google offers that you could just use their trained models to help you describe what's going on in the picture? The answer is use that, AutoML. The trained models that you could customize if you need to, rather than building your own from scratch. That's what you're listening for. If they say real-time data analytics, they're probably going for BigQuery or Bigtable, which are the two analytics offerings. One is SQL, one is NoSQL, or maybe even PubSub, because that's part of a pipeline. Remember the data pipelines we talked about. Again, if they ask you, okay, you need a tailored solution to help Google recognize particular types of dogs or particular types of cars. What you're not going to do is answer, hire a whole data engineering team to build your custom image vision. No, you will tailor the Cloud AutoML. All you have to do is feed it your pictures of your dogs, and you're just training it a little more. You're tailoring an existing thing. And managed is the best word for cloud. The reason customers are going to the cloud is because Google Cloud offers managed solutions. These solutions often take the drudgery, also known as toil. It reduces toil. This is the burden of infrastructure management, from making a lot of backups, setting up failovers, doing a lot of the overhead. The managed solution will be the one that reduces toil. So to that end, if they say you want to go to Google Cloud, but there is no option for, you want to put your database in Google Cloud, and the reason is your people are spending too much time with backups and failover and updates and patching. Which Google Cloud solution do you choose to help relieve the toil? You're going to pick Cloud SQL, because that's the managed version of databases in Google Cloud. And if they ask you something else like build your own with a virtual machine, run for the hills. That's not the right answer. If you build your own database with a virtual machine, you just upped the toil. You didn't down the toil. So the other one is, you wanna manage those containers at scale, Kubernetes. That's usually what's going on. Look for the managed and look for those products. Finally, if they say serverless, if they mention serverless or microservices, typically they're talking about the Google products that support running applications without having to worry about the machine that might be supporting it. It's Cloud Functions, Cloud Run, App Engine Standard, but not App Engine Flexible, because that involves a machine. So these are the things you're talking about now. Of course, we're going to be looking for these phrases when we're reading the test questions. So if you see something like blah, blah, blah wants to predict customer behavior, then you want to look for any machine learning type of solution that they offer in the notes. Anything like that would be fine. Predicting customer behavior, it's not going to be your typical business intelligence things. It'll always be AI and ML. Analyze large data sets. Remember, there's two. One is BigQuery, which is SQL. One is Big Table, which is NoSQL. So there will have to be some more clues about which one of those. But in my experience, at this level of learning, they would never put both options in the same set of answers because it's just too detailed. Because if, it's just mean. It would be rude to do that. So they don't. Now, if you come take the advanced test, they'll do it. They'll talk about, which one of these things does analytics, and it stores data in column storage, and it's blah, 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 blah. Then you know which one to pick. But this ain't that party. We've got right now, it's all about large data sets. You have two approaches. And security, you're looking at encryption, cloud IAM. We talked about that already. And then the word cost management. You got to know the difference between a spot VM and a normal VM, and between a committed use discount and a sustained use discount. And what's the difference between a budget and a quota? One of these things is a hard line, the quota. The other one of these things is a soft line, the budget. You could blow past your budget, but you cannot blow past a quota. Finally, if they talk about improving collaboration, answer software as a service, you're done. Like, that's a quick answer. So use those tips when you're taking the practice exam. I do have some examples in context. So, and this one, starting with this first set of questions, and I'll go quickly through these. What if the question says, your company needs to blah, 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 blah. What's the blah, blah, blah? Check it. If they start talking about optimizing costs, then you need to know the difference. If they're talking about databases, know that this one and this one costs a lot of money, lots of dollars. But this one and this one, only a couple of dollars. Know that. And of course, that's what you're peeking. You're kind of looking at the question to kind of decipher, what do they want me to say? And there'll be a couple in there that are sprinkled in to round out 4 possible answers, but you'll know the difference. What if it says your company needs to ensure high availability for, then look for whatever answer talks about multiple regions as the answer. Spanner goes into multiple regions and has a lot of uptime. Cloud storage, multiple regions available and has a good uptime if you do multiple regions. BigQuery, very stable storage, and you don't even have to worry about where it is. Serverless. And so the idea is ensure high availability, pick the high availability answers. And then finally, if they talk about scaling, then what you're looking for is flexible infrastructure, and serverless architecture would be my choice first. Serverless architecture costs less than Kubernetes, which costs a little more. So big dollars here, fewer dollars there, but you'll have to look at the context of the picture. So let's check out an example. All right, let's see. A gaming company needs to store and retrieve player data with, here I'm gonna underscore the parts of the question, just give it away the answer that they're looking for. Extremely low latency to provide a seamless user experience. Sometimes when I read these exam questions, I go like this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, extremely low latency, blah, 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 blah. Because it doesn't really matter. I'm looking for the question in the question. The data includes Player profiles, game state, leaderboard information. Okay, fine. They give me some details. I don't know if I need that yet. But these things must be quickly accessible. And there it is. Scalable to handle millions of users. Let me take you through my thinking. Cloud SQL is not scalable to millions of users. Not really. Cloud SQL, that's like a regional thing that sits in a single region and scales up but not out. That's probably not the answer. Boom, is what I'm thinking. I'm just taking you through my thought process. BigQuery, let me think. Extremely low latency. It's storing data, transactional data. BigQuery, but that's, as I know, it's data analytics. Data analytics, no, because analytics is not the same as transactional. I need a transactional answer. Now, Firestore, now we're talking. It does offer real-time transactional data, but not at the scale that I'm going to need based on what they said. Extremely low latency and scalable to handle millions of users really fast. Firestore, it's a baby compared to Bigtable. Ding, ding, ding. Everybody online is saying D. Very nicely done. You're right. Yay! You see how we were just able to eliminate as we go? All right. Now, the answers, the questions and answers on the exam will not have a lot of this thing, and here's why. It'll probably have Cloud SQL, boom. BigQuery, boom. Firestore, you're supposed to fill in. So the first few samples I have some details that describe the options. And as we get further in my sample questions, I drop the hints. I remove any existing context so you can really be on your own. But hey, I don't want to just throw you in the deep end of the pool. Not yet. In a minute. Let's do another one. A social media platform wants to implement a messaging feature where users can send and receive messages in real time. That's the first thing I want to highlight. Messages in real time. They need a solution that supports real-time data clearly, but synchronization. Scales horizontally and then provides offline capabilities. Offline, I want to tell you, that one right there, that's your major clue. Now, some of you know already, without having to read each and every one of the possibilities, you're already looking for the one thing that does offline capabilities for mobile apps. You got it right. It is Firestore. Now, if you didn't already know Firestore was the thing, because you haven't memorized, for goodness sakes, which you probably should, but fine, I get it. Let's eliminate the other ones and tell you why they're eliminated. Cloud storage is a bad idea. Cloud storage is for buckets. And notice how the answer lacks real-time synchronization. Again, that's a super hint. That's just me being nice on these little sample questions. Trust me, the exam does not give it away that easy. BigQuery is analytical, and Cloud SQL is transactional, but you can't use that thing offline. And it's not really real time. It's kind of a bit of a delay. So that is not what we're looking for. We're definitely wanting something a little more. And that means it is Firestore. Why? Because it supports real-time data synchronization, offline capabilities, and horizontal scalability, which just means as it gets bigger and bigger, it'll scale accordingly. So that's amazing. And it's great for messaging. Anyway, good. You're doing great. You're doing great. Third question. A retail company wants to implement a data warehouse solution. Data warehouse solution. Now pause right here as you're taking your exam and just remember data warehousing officially is which product? And you're thinking, big something. Okay, you got that, right? But I don't want to give it away. I just need that to be in your brain. Keep reading. sales data for multiple regions in real time. They want high availability and scalability as their data volume grows, and it should do data visualization. Well, now I know which big thing I need. Now, it doesn't matter if there's two possible big things in my head, because I'm looking at the answers and that one doesn't do it. That one doesn't do it. The only thing that says big anything is big query, and that's the right answer. Now, what if they also had big table, which would have been just rude as possible answer, but what if it did? Well, then the thing that gives it away is data visualization tools that are built right into BigQuery. And some people would even argue the fact that we said data warehouse is also a big, it has to be. Data warehousing requires a SQL underlying relational database that does a snowflake or a star schema, and it's very structured. And then, yes, you could get some beautiful charts, but it definitely was BigQuery kind of at the first line. Good job, everybody picked the right one, and we're probably on a bit of a delay, so some people are just getting in here. It is definitely B for BigQuery. Now, here's another practice one, and then we'll move into another area. But this one, an e-commerce company, what? They have an existing on-prem data warehouse. They want to move it to the cloud? Huh. Well, what about the initial migration effort? Data compatibility and ensuring minimal downtime during the transition. There is a product that Google offers. Do you remember the name of the product? Well, is it BigQuery that has a product that can do the data transfer? Cloud Spanner, Cloud Pub Sub, which is a messaging queue, Cloud Data Store, which is that's like Firestore, but the old version. So no, it's definitely BigQuery, because, and the answer is there in the words. BigQuery offers data transfer service, simplifies the migration process from on-prem, ensures minimum downtime. That's the one that you'll want for that. But you could also transfer other types of databases too, if you wanted to. If they said something like live data migration or data migration, there's some tool. If they mentioned that tool, you would have chosen it, but that wasn't here. Okay. How are we doing? Good so far? Wait, I have one more in this area. A fintech, financial services firm, needs to store data that can handle high transaction workloads, strong consistency across global regions. High transaction workloads. Now it's financial, so you know it's probably a relational database. They need strong consistency, which means there cannot be a delay, and it should be all around the world. I wonder what, and of course it goes on, but by now we've already got our clues. We could read some more, blah, 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 compliance, yada, yada. What should they use? Cloud SQL? Cloud SQL, no, that's a regional resource. No. Big table. Strong consistency, high transaction. No, and the answer is right there. Again, I'm going to make it not so easy in the upcoming questions. Cloud Spanner is your jam. Good job, everybody online is saying C. You're absolutely right. Cloud Spanner is the globally distributed, strongly consistent database, and that has high consistency, low latency. It's all around the world, and it's not cheap, but hey, it's a financial services firm. They'll be fine. Firestore is not the answer because it is not going to be as scalable, not to the degree that this service needs. And besides, it's not relational, right? Firestore is non-relational. So there's our answer. Okay. All right. I thought I had, okay. Well, sorry. This is the final one and then we'll move on. A financial services firm needs a data storage solution. Now, what's going to be different about the data storage? All the places that you can store data. High transaction workloads need to be supported here. Strong consistency. No, cloud storage in this case. I know it sounds exactly like the other one, but cloud storage is the case here because they wanted to interact with AI and ML. So I'm just going to pretend I didn't show you that one because it was too much like the previous one. Moving on. Let's talk about AI and ML. Okay. 1, your company is looking to implement a machine learning solution to predict customer churn. All right, prediction. So you know that there is going to be some ML and AI going on. And if you look down here at the bottom, I do this a lot. In the middle of the question, I glance at the answers, and I know that these two are not going to be the one. Because if they said prediction is needed, then it's definitely one of these two. Do you see what I'm saying? How nice it is to be able to eliminate. Just wipe it out. Don't even read it. If it doesn't have the right product, don't even consider it. Now, keep reading the question. You need a service that allows you to build and train a custom model, but you don't have extensive expertise in machine learning. So I need to customize an existing model. Which of these two could I use to train a model without being the greatest data scientist in the world? I see everybody typing in A. It is definitely A. AutoML. It's a suite of learning products that enables us, the developers, to build these tools, even though we're not ML engineers. Now, if that question went another way, we would have totally chosen the second option, which is using BigQuery ML, when we're just going to customize and build our own thing because we're good at SQL. All right, so you're starting to get a little more comfortable. Again, I'm going to pull the rug out from under you soon without these verbose answers, but not just quite yet. Here's another AI ML question. You're part of a team tasked with implementing an AI-driven customer service chatbot. Oh, congratulations, chatbot. For your company. It has to understand and respond to customer questions using natural language. Have you ever given away the answer in the question? Now, you know, Vision API is not language. Language API is probably the right thing, but let's just check the others. Speech to text changes what I'm saying to text. That's not going to help answer anything. And translation, translating between languages. So ding, 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 you're right. It is B, Cloud Natural Language API that offers the understanding of natural language, either being written or spoken, including the ability to analyze your sentiment. Oh, they're happy, or oh, they don't like you, right? Just based on context. Good job, everybody. So let's keep on going. Your company wants to analyze large data sets in real time. Do you hear these words? In real time. Large data sets. And already we're looking. Which one of these could it be? Well, let's keep reading the question. To gain insights into customer behavior, you need a service that supports real-time analytics and machine learning model deployment. It can only be the thing that has big in its name. BigQuery. That is what you want. Now, you could have chosen Bigtable, because there's a way to do that there too. But notice how that's not an option on this slide, so we don't have to go into details. Cloud Auto ML, not the thing. It's not going to be real time. Data Proc, I mean, it could be part of a solution, but it's kind of heavy. And then Cloud Spanner, not your jam. It's definitely A, BigQuery, which provides fast SQL queries using Google Cloud's infrastructure. Like it's a serverless platform. You don't even have to worry about the servers that it's running on. And with BigQuery, you can write BigQuery ML SQL statements to generate an ML model and publish that model based on real-time data. It's all available through BigQuery ML. So that's a nice thing to know. And it would have been tricky if there was another big in the answer, but there wasn't. I'll see you next time when you take the Professional Cloud Architect. They're going to mess with your brain, but by then you'll be ready for it. Am I right? This next one, exam practice question number 4. Your development team needs a platform that supports end-to-end machine learning workflows. And it sounds like they might be already good at this. They want data prep, model training, hyperparameter tuning, and deployment of the model, which then they're going to keep refining. Which one of these answers has the ability to build a custom AI model? Now, actually, this just gives itself away. Cloud Functions, no, that's not an AI thing, although it could participate in a long strain, but that's not an answer in and of itself. Cloud Storage, that's not going to be the answer. It could store my data, but it's not going to analyze and come into a machine learning product. Data Store, same thing. It's got to be B, and that's what it is. AI Platform, it's their comprehensive suite of tools that's going to let a machine learning engineer and data scientist build, train, and deploy their machine learning models. They're going to use Jupyter notebooks and automated hyperparameter tuning to get it done. So that's nice. Let's look at a couple more. Your company has a large collection of images that need to be classified. Images, you already know. I don't have to read anymore. Listen, I would just start glancing at the answers. And then I'm like, probably one of these two, probably not those two. I guess I got to keep reading. Now, if these answers included 3 weird ones and something AI, I would be done. But I'll keep reading. You want to create a custom image recognition model, but you lack the expertise to build one from scratch. Well, then I'm going to need the Auto ML thing because its job is to automatically help me do what I don't know how to do from scratch. It is A. Auto ML. Vision, which allows me to create custom image recognition models with minimal machine learning expertise. How? Leverages the Cloud Vision API, but uses it to customize it. All right. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'm going to pick that one. And of course, we have our final question of this area. All right. Here you are, and you're on a team. And what do you need to do? You need to quickly categorize customer feedback. That means they're going to say, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to be like, yep, they're happy. Or, middle. Or, they're mad. So you're trying to figure out what people think about your services, but you don't want to take a long time. Which one of these things is going to make that work for you? It's definitely not vision because we're not looking at pictures. It's not speech to text, or we're not building our own product. So it's gotta be B. Absolutely. Natural Language API, it provides tools for sentiment analysis. It could look at a picture and identify entities. Like, oh yeah, that's the Eiffel Tower. And it could look at the syntax and come up with whether there is, what kind of sentiment is there for your feedback. So now the training wheels come off. I know, I get it. This is more likely how you'll really be faced with these questions. All right. Webco, an e-commerce company, has a monolithic web. Who you call a monolithic? A monolithic web application. It It's funny. When you go to a meeting, you're not going to be able to sit there with a straight face. When someone says monolithic, you're going to be like, who you calling monolithic? All right. It's my goal anyway. I want everybody to say that. Monolithic web app running on-prem. There are frequent performance bottlenecks, and they want to migrate the application to GCP so it could be scalable and it could be agile. You also have to whisper agile when you say it. It got to be agile. So there will be 3 questions coming up. There won't be a lot of discussion in the answers that are offered, but we have to pick the right one that's going to be talking about which GCP service we need. Which one will avoid the lock-in to different vendor to a particular vendor, and it's going to address performance. So let's look at scenario 1. Which of the following GCP services is the most suitable for hosting the migrated Webco app? By the way, the Webco app, remember what it is. I know, usually in a test, they will have like the reference information at the top of each page, but they have on the web application is monolithic, it runs on-prem, and they have frequent performance bottlenecks because it's a monolithic app. Okay, are we giving them, what are we doing? We put them in Cloud Spanner? Are we putting it in Compute Engine virtual machines? Are we putting it in Google Kubernetes Engine? Or are we putting it in Cloud Functions? Now, I would have to say that based on that scenario, we will assume that when they move it to Google Cloud, they also they don't want to just lift and shift. They want to refactor as it moves from on-prem to the cloud. Now, if that's the case, which one of these, and I see a lot of people typing C, and I would agree, because Cloud Spanner is just a database, so that's not right. Compute Engine, it would require manual management, and it would be monolithic in the cloud as opposed to monolithic on-prem. So if you really want to completely move it, you definitely want to refactor it into containers. And Cloud Functions is it's a microservices architecture that you would have already written. The best way, the only two it would have been this one or this one. You could lift and shift, put your VM into Google Cloud, but then you're looking for something like, are we going to try to do better while we get to the cloud? Like, what are we doing? So that's the part you would have considered. Now, they want to avoid vendor lock-in when they go. So how can they achieve avoiding vendor lock-in when they go to the cloud? Well, could they heavily customize GKE with proprietary tools? Right. No. Vendor lock-in is defined by exactly that first thing. You are heavily customizing something that's available as a service and then writing your own or buying somebody's little widgets to make it work. Now you're forever bound to that provider. No. What do you think about using infrastructure as code to configure your system? Infrastructure as code, like Terraform, that's code that can create infrastructure in a cloud, in any cloud. So maybe, but perhaps let's look at the others. So we have a question mark. Relying solely on managed GCP services without any infrastructure as code tools. Well, if you want to avoid vendor lock-in, why would you just rely on managed Google Cloud Platform services? Sounds like you're kind of, if you're not locked in, then you're kind of pinned in. So maybe not. Or migrating it directly to the VMs on another cloud provider. No, I don't like that one either. And there's reasons. The using infrastructure as code is the right answer. Many people chose B. I'm with you. It promotes infrastructure automation, reduces vendor lock-in by managing configurations in code. So you're writing code to point to the cloud to run that code in the cloud. Now, granted, you're still going to have to tweak your code if you move from Google Cloud to Amazon. You have to tweak that Terraform code so it speaks Amazon, but at least it's still the infrastructure you need with a language made toward the provider that you're going for. So it's still fine. Excellent. All right, let's do the last question in this scenario. So what about scalability? You want to move it to Google Cloud and you want it to be scalable after migration, which means don't put it on a monolithic virtual machine. That can't be the right answer, because if you take monolith from on-prem and you just go monolith in the cloud, you still have a scalability problem. Monoliths scale all or nothing, and a microservice scales just the pieces that need to be scaled. So that's what you want to pick. So that's not it. A load balancer in front of it. I like that they're trying to get me to pick that, but I'm just going to put a question mark there. Does a load balancer in front of the VMs, does that do it? Let me look. Oh, breaking down the application into microservices and then deploying them in containers. Everybody agrees. Everybody's typing C. You're absolutely right. And you know what's never the answer? That one. What? Upgrading the hardware specifications of their on-prem servers. That's never the answer unless it's which of these is not the right one. So the answer here, breaking down the app into microservices, that's the way to go, because you're improving the scalability, the agility, and the fault tolerance of your application because you broke it down. Remember the Jenga tower that we popped out all those little squares and now they're floating around on their own, loosely coupled, and each piece being able to scale accordingly. Now it's not all one big block. It's smaller, agile blocks. So that's what you want. Okay, second scenario. You guys are doing great, and we have a good half hour left. We got this. Modernizing a data warehouse. FinTech Inc., a financial services company, has a traditional data warehouse on premises that struggles to handle the increasing volume and the increasing complexity of the data that is financial that they work with all day, every day. They want to modernize their data warehouse in GCP. So we have to figure out what service does data warehousing. You already probably know one. What would they use for automation, and what would they use to optimize? Are you ready? Let's do it. We've got scenario 1, question 1. So, which is the data warehousing Google Cloud solution? I know, I'll just put my music on. Which one of these? It is big something. It's BigQuery. It's your data warehouse. Exactly. It's your data warehouse. This is how we do large data sets and complex queries. So that was a gotcha. That was a gimme. That was just free, because we know data warehousing in Google Cloud. Now, just in case you want to remember what Cloud SQL is, it's a relational database, but it's for transactions, not data warehouses. Cloud storage, it's just object storage. You need a whole data management layer on top of that. Cloud data flow, it's a part of moving data to a data warehouse, but it is definitely not the final picture. So nice try, but we got it right. Good. Let's go to the next one. They want to automate their data pipeline creation, data pipeline moving data from the transactional over to data warehouse. They want to automate the creation of the pipeline and the management of the pipeline for their new data warehouse. So how do they achieve it in Google Cloud? Do they manually script data pipelines for each data source? Anytime you see manually, I want you to ask yourself, there's got to be a better answer, because manually sounds like toil. Toil is usually not the goal of moving to the cloud. So it's usually a big old don't pick me kind of answer. This toil. Relying solely on BigQuery's built-in data loading tools. This is another thing. Solely, anytime they say only, always, or never, you know, every argument that ever got started between two people in a family started with you always, you never, you only, keep talking all that exclusion, and I'm right? So that ain't the right one. You already got there. I'm taking my time so you can read it. Cloud Functions. Yeah, no, it might be part of it, but no, it's definitely D. Utilizing cloud data flow with pre-built connectors that automate the data ingestion. So that's it. That's what it does. It's part of a pipeline that we're going to define. Well done. Last question on this section, and then we move on. This fintech company, to optimize the data warehouse costs, they should continue. All right. To optimize their costs, which means don't spend all the money on this one thing. What do? Should they upgrade their on-premise data warehouse? I mean, even if it's true, the answer is no for Google exams. No. Replicate their entire on-prem data warehouse to BigQuery without changing a thing. Lift and shift, leave it alone, it'll be fine. I mean, maybe? Well, okay, maybe. Implement data partitioning and columnar storage for efficient data access. Ooh, that sounds good. Ding, 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 ding. Running big queries continuously. Oh my God. That'll spend all the money. Do you know you could spend $40,000 on a single query? You could. You could just say, hey, BigQuery, show me every row in that 10 terabyte database. It's like, okay. And you will get a bill that will be the last bill because you now have to update your resume. I'm just saying. It's definitely C. Data partitioning and columnar storage are good optimizers for BigQuery. Depending on how you access your data, you might just have a question. You might say, look at those 10 terabytes of rows, count how many of them are located in Virginia. Well, that's a single column, scan, and just a count. You don't want to see every row. You want to count how many are in Virginia. It's a whole different question. It'll cost you pennies. One has to know that that's what you can do in BigQuery. Okay, moving on. We'll get into security. And with security, we're talking about a lot of different things. Trust, the infrastructure, the principles, and what it is to be compliant. So let's look and see the kind of stuff we have here. Skynet. Yeah, that Skynet it's a financial services company. They want to share sensitive customer data with a third-party vendor for fraud analysis. However, they also need to make sure that there's secure data access, and they want to make sure to minimize their attack surface. So you do want to share a limited amount of data with third parties. How do you do it in Google Cloud? We're going to be asking about storage buckets and the security features of storage buckets. We're going to be asking about how do you manage data exposure, and how do you make sure that your rules are being enforced over time. All right, let's look at it. Skynet configured a cloud storage bucket with public read access. Public read access so that the vendor can access the customer data. This is an issue. Public. But what's the most secure way? The most secure way to address the issue of giving public access to a storage bucket 1, granting the vendor direct IAM permissions. Direct IAM permissions. Does that solve the problem? The vendor can have, you're going to make them a user in your cloud organization and give them direct permissions. Let's talk about that. B, leaving the bucket public and relying on the vendor to just act right. Okay, not the answer. I'm gonna tell you right now, no, that's bad. But just, people are good, right? People are fine. People don't steal. I mean, we learned in kindergarten, trust in Allah, but tie your camel. So this is not the right answer. Okay. C, creating a cloud storage signed URL with granular access controls for the vendor. Ooh, this one sounds good. I like this, but let's read the 4th one. Implementing a cloud VPN tunnel for direct access to the whole network. Okay, y'all are playing too much. Let me show you. C is right. Everybody said C. You're absolutely right. And the reason you don't want A is because this is just a vendor. Do you really want to create a Google Cloud identity in your cloud organization so they could see that one bucket? No. That's too much. And especially if it's costing a little bit per month per user. Why are you paying for that? Just go ahead and create a cloud storage signed URL that says, click this link. It's going to expire in a day, and use the content. Make sure, and then it's on them to make sure that they have their internal accesses properly set up. Okay, good. I'm glad everybody agrees. Now, let's talk about data that's exposed to the vendor. This is still a vendor that's getting some of our customer data. So what do we do to minimize the data exposed? Should we A, share the entire customer database? Everything? No. Stop it. Whoever suggested that, get out. B, use cloud data flow to filter and transform the data, sending only relevant information to the vendor. I will leave a question mark here because that sounds good, but it is probably something better. Grant the vendor full IAM permissions on BigQuery containing all the customer data. That sounds just as bad as that one. So D, implement data catalog to categorize the data, but share the complete data. Every time they say share the complete data set, I'm mad. So it has to be B, even though we might not have been shown exactly how that might work. This sounds good. Cloud data flow to filter and transform the data, sending only the information that's relevant to them. Because filtering could be this whole record is none of your business. And transforming could be, and the one record that is your business, we're gonna turn into X's their social security number. We're gonna blot out their PII, so that you get the customer info without getting all the customer info, if you catch my drift. So we want to protect our data. That's the way to do it. Good. Sometimes you will arrive at the right answer by just shaking your head and judging the offers of the other. Just judging them for even suggesting the other ones. That's what we're doing. Okay. Last question in this group. How can Skynet monitor and audit the data access by the vendor to make sure that they're acting right? Because this is the thing. You can ask them to act right, and they can agree to act right. And everybody signs a document that says, we're all going to act correctly, but I would recommend watch all of the videos. If you got a live video running, watch all of the things. So what things can we watch in Google Cloud? Well, you could just rely solely on trust. Don't watch them. They're fine. Trust in Allah, tie your camel. That's not the right one. Cloud monitoring for general system health, but not specific data access logs. So how's that helping? Implementing cloud logging with user activity logs for vendor data access tracking. I like it. Or would you manually, remember manually? No, we're not doing anything manually. It's C. Well done. It's C. So implementing cloud logging with user activity logs allows us to see what records were accessed by the users or by the vendor, because that will give us that clear insight into how they're behaving. So we watch. What would they call it? Trust but verify. Absolutely. All right. Insider threat. Oh, Lord. The call's coming from inside the house. Anybody who grew up in the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. These days, it doesn't make any sense. You've got a cell phone in your pocket. But back in the day, when you had 2 phone lines and you answered the phone and you're like, they're bothering me. And you call the operator and they're like, the call's coming from inside the house. It's terrifying. This is also terrifying. LearnFast, an e-learning platform, stores student login credentials and course materials in GCP. They are concerned about the potential for insider threats from employees with access to this sensitive data. Student login credentials and their course materials being accessed by the inside people. So the following questions are going to be addressed: the approach to insider threat, the least privilege approach to security, and finally, what kind of security features you could implement in Google Cloud. Let's look at the first one. Which of the following options provides the most effective approach to mitigate insider threats? Now, you could go A, grant everybody unrestricted permissions. It's easy. Says nobody anywhere. In fact, that's the opposite of trust no one. We want you to trust no one. So, could you implement strong password policies? I like it. And not only that, conduct regular security awareness training. I like that, but let's read the rest. Oh, just turn off the logging. So that video camera in the corner has no tape. Not useful. Relying solely on data encryption at rest without any access control measures. I have to admit, your cloud exam is not going to be this obvious, but I just hope that you're learning different ways to identify the red herrings. It's totally B, right? This is the one. Insider threats can be addressed by a few things, but strong password policies, yeah, that's one of them. Now, LearnFast also wants to implement least privilege because they realize, oh, so we're not supposed to just give everybody unfettered access? Okay, got it. So how can they achieve least privilege using GCP's identity and access management? Well, if you know identity and access management, there's different types of permissions and roles. So if you already know what the owner role is, I ask you, should everybody have the owner role? Everybody's an owner? No, exactly. Not right. Let's keep reading. Let's look at utilizing predefined IAM roles without any customization. Now that's a possibility because customization will cause overhead. Now you got to maintain it. And then this one, creating custom roles with granular permissions based on each employee's job. Okay, that one's better. It's better. So yeah, B is not better than C, although B does let me just use out-of-the-box permissions that I don't have to tweak. I don't have to maintain them. When I create a custom IAM role, now I'm going to have to maintain them, but it really is the best one because granting broad IAM permissions to managers and allowing them to share it with their employees, that's just crazy talk. So it really is C for the reasons that were mentioned. It is least privilege, but it does come with a drawback because custom IAM roles require maintenance. So if you got that same question in your test and it also said with minimal maintenance overhead, then you would choose B. Predefined IAM roles without any customization would do it, but how often, how likely is that predefined role to be exactly what you want? It'll be tricky. You will have to read the details of the question if you are addressed with this question. All right. And then the last one of this group is, question 3. Okay. Yeah. Learn fast should consider enabling which of the following features for even more enhanced data security. Okay, disabling a key management service. Can you do that? You shouldn't do that. Even if you can, you should not. That's a no. Cloud key management services, that's how to keep your data double encrypted. So I don't know about that one. Allowing employees to use personal email addresses when they log in. That's supposed to be even more enhanced data security. I don't know these people. Why are you logging in with your Gmail? I don't get that. That's not good. Disabling multi-factor authentication for easier. No, it's got to be D, right? Let's read it. Implementing the cloud identity aware proxy for additional access control. Yay, ding, ding, ding. I was getting worried, and I wrote these questions. So that's what you want. The cloud identity aware proxy for additional access control beyond IAM, because what that does is when a user is logged in, okay, so you're sitting at your computer. Is that how we? Okay, fine. You're sitting at your computer and it's going over to Google Cloud and you have a request. What you're talking about is having just a little extra check before you get to the thing you want. That's the cloud identity aware proxy that you connect to Google Cloud. You're in, you got to log in, you're in. But when you go to use that App Engine app, we'll check to make sure, are you supposed to use the App Engine app? Just another layer of security. So that's another way to make it even more robust. And so now I am at the very end of my slides, but I have a good 10 minutes. Do people have questions? You want to see some of those questions on the exam real quick? I'm sorry, not the exam, like I have access to that. No. Do you want to see some of those questions on? We could play with the first few, you know, because we have a few minutes. Yeah, we could do that. Because we don't want to just leave early. We're having too much fun. All right. Let's peek at some of the sample questions that you would experience on the sample. Now, many of you may have already taken this, right? So Charlene, bang. You got to fill out all this stuff. And then I just want to help you think through some of these questions. What's my organization? My company. And then the email, I don't need to do that. What country am I in? U.S. What am I? I'm a partner, I guess. What? Don't send me stuff. Next. Okay. Let's look at some of these until the timer goes out. We've got 10 minutes. These sample questions, no, they don't change. They're the same. So if you already took it once, you know all this stuff. And I just expect you to register for your test. If you haven't done it already, we've got a bunch of people that registered, and we've got, I think it said 17 people that already passed it. Yeah, 17 people already passed it. 121 had scheduled their exam before this thing started. So it's probably even higher now. Everybody schedule it now. Everybody. Okay. Because if you're one of the first N, then you get some free swag from Google. All right. Here's a question. How can Google Cloud help an organization achieve its sustainability goals? And look how they say, Google Cloud data centers are carbon free. Data centers have maximum physical security. Don't you love how that has nothing to do with sustainability? Data centers are regionally distributed around the world, has nothing to do with sustainability. So far, A is pretty simple. ISO certified for their environmental performance and efficiency. Now, which one of these two is more correct? I feel like the last one is more correct because, and I haven't taken this practice exam since they changed it over in March. I think what Sundar Pichai told us in that one video was that some of them are carbon free and they're going to be carbon free for real by the end of some year. I think this year, next year, something. So I don't think they're there yet. It's definitely D. Good. I'm choosing D. And you don't know the answer till you get way to the end. There's 32 questions. We won't get all the way to the end, but this is how you'll do it. Just click what you think is right. When you get to the last page, it'll summarize all the questions, tell you which ones you got right, give you links so you can read up on more information about the ones that you might have missed, and so forth. Let's zoom in a little more. Okay. Organization is monitoring a service level indicator based on the volume of traffic that the application is receiving. Why is it important to monitor this indicator? Remember, there are 4 golden signals, right? There's latency, there's traffic, there's saturation, and there's errors. Traffic, the volume of traffic always affects the user experience. Does it? Latency always but let's hold that, keep that in the back of your mind. High traffic levels are frequently tied to degrading performance. This is true. Historical trends in traffic can be used for capacity planning. That's also true. Low traffic volumes always indicate configuration issues. That's the only one I'm certain is not the right one. And so A and D I've eliminated in my brain. What do you guys think? High traffic levels are frequently tied to, I think it's B. Because what do we care about historical trends for capacity planning? Listen, service level indicators are talking about right now, am I meeting my SLA? We agreed that it would be, the service would be up. But if I'm watching high traffic, that could be a clue that it's about to be not up. So I'm going to choose that one, final answer. You see how the logic will just kind of go in your brain like that? You're just going to eliminate the ones that you think are not right. An organization has raised a support case with Google Cloud Customer Care. When is it appropriate for a case to be escalated? Well, when it's a high impact issue and it needs to be resolved as fast as possible. Or, I mean, that sounds good, right? If you don't have the answer, I'll hold while you find someone who does, because stuff is about to get crazy. This is the insight that I'm thinking. How about when the priority of the ticket has been set incorrectly? I don't think it needs to be escalated. I think it's just an error. When flagging a break in the process or a communication issue. Oh, so when you want to speak to a manager. Sorry, I just had a Karen moment in my head. Okay, when the case has been resolved and needs to be reopened. I feel like it's that one. Escalation. It's really important. I'll hold, go get your boss, right? Everybody's saying A as well. Good. An organization wants to track and understand its expenses on Google Cloud, and they want to receive recommendations on how they can spend less money. What tool should the organization use? I like this one because all of these things have to do with spending money. The billing reports are good because that helps you track and understand your expenses, right? Your invoice is pay me $50, pay me $500. And you're like, that sounds high. Let me go check my billing report. So definitely that. Your resource quotas and thresholds is just keeping you from overrunning Google Cloud resources. And discounts, I mean, that's not going to help you understand your expenses. That's just going to help you promise to spend money there. So A, final answer. So you're really going to, and they'll give you, when you get to the end of this journey, hopefully you keep taking this as we hang up from each other in like 5 minutes. Keep going, because you'll see the summary of all the answers and why they were the way they were. All right, an organization wants to analyze data collected from a fleet of rental vehicles. This sounds like a lot of data. Onboard sensors send location data every 30 seconds. They want to ingest this data. What product or service should they use? Now, this one, they didn't say big table, but that's where it's going to go. It's going to land in big table. But if they want to analyze the data that came from a fleet of rental vehicles, I feel like PubSub should be in the flow here. It should be in. Now, data flow could be involved, but PubSub only because even like when the data comes in really fast, it's going to line up and it's going to be taken a record at a time. It's like a little message queue. And without that in the middle, you might drop some packets. You might lose some. If it's so fast, you might lose it. So PubSub is typically the one that you want in that scenario. The other options might be involved, but PubSub will be your jam. All right, a couple more minutes. The organization wants to compare the total cost of ownership, TCO, of operating in the cloud versus on-prem. What on-premise costs should be compared to the cloud costs? This is total cost of ownership. Watch out for all those hidden costs. Do we keep in mind of the cost of on-prem operational overhead? Absolutely. What about the initial investment cost? I mean, the initial cost comparing directly to operating costs in the cloud, definitely not the initial cost, because that's something that it's a one-time and done. The maintenance cost of replacing on-premise hardware. But see, now I'm thinking more than one of these. So look at the last question or the last answer. The cost of on-prem hardware investment, operational overhead, and missed opportunity costs included. I love this last answer. Clicking that one as my answer. Do you see how it didn't say A and B, A, B, and C? Those are kind of cheesy to go through, right? I like that one because what's included in this last one is all the things you missed because you never went to the cloud. Yeah, Blockbuster. Yeah, encyclopedias. So let's do the last one and then call it a day. An organization is planning to create many new applications and needs a system for managing and orchestrating their containers. Why do they want to use GKE? Definitely, it does not optimize VMs. No. Does it enable rapid application deployment and testing? Yeah, but what else do you got? Does it connect legacy systems to an application? No. Does it provide pre-written source code? No. So definitely that one. So continue your journey. You guys, you did a wonderful job here. Keep going with your practice exam. I know that the people in the chat have you covered in terms of making sure you get your voucher code. And definitely, I'll see you guys online. I will be supporting you on LinkedIn. I do need to put some Kahoots up there, some games you can play to see who's going to answer fastest and most correctly some questions. And so therefore you have something else to play. In the meantime, you can come back next week. I'll do this again. I'll use slightly different questions. So you can come and visit us there too. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I'll play some music.